Today, I'm talking to Jessica Adams with One Sotheby's International Realty of South Florida. Jessica started her career in the bottom of the recession, learning through short sales. At the time, and even now, hearing short sale sounds like a terrible time. Her timing sense has proven that it probably couldn't have been better. From the start, she joined a strong team with a strong leader who showed her the ropes in the Great Recession, the worst real estate market since the Depression. She saw all the problems firsthand, and as they hit us, she learned the solutions, real experience with the leadership then, and she has the leadership now to expedite and create real results for her clients. Her most recent awards include the Riley Smith Group's Top Producer Award that she earned in 2018 with $55 million in sales from 44 transactions. Most recently, she was announced the #2 agent company-wide for new One Sotheby's International Realty agents in 2019. She and I talk about how to align with the right people at the right time. Thanks for listening to the Jerry Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. All right, everybody, it's the Jerry Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we have Jessica Adams with One Sotheby's International Realty that is in the Coral Gables office. She does business in Coconut Grove and Coral Gables. Jessica, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. It's so great to be on your show. I love watching it, and you're so amazing. Thank you for letting us realtors have communication with each other and everything. It's amazing to hear from everybody.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. I love we were talking. You were telling me how you've been listening throughout, especially throughout COVID-19. So glad to be able to contribute. We're going to talk a little about that today because I know everybody really wants to hear about how everybody's dealing with it and what they do. But first, let's hear more about you. You were with Berkshire Hathaway for a period of time. Now you've been with One Sotheby's for about a year. You were on a team. Now you're an individual agent, and you are a top selling agent in the company. Elaborate a little on that, how you got in. Give us give us a little bit more details on that story.
Yeah. So how I started in the industry is a little crazy too, because I started during the pits of the market back when the crash started. And my husband is an architect, and we actually
that was 2009.
Yeah. So we started looking around 10. At 10, we started actually looking for our house. And people thought we were crazy that we were looking to buy at the time. And my husband was working with an agent here in Miami that he knew personally that they'd done a couple of houses with. And we started looking for our house, and he was like, wow, you really know the market. I mean, it was before kind of Zillow and all the things. I mean, yes, they were in, but I knew every street. I knew what I wanted. I was very specific about it. And ironically, we bought our house as a short sale. And I just really loved the process, and just
even though it was a short sale, you really loved it, right?
It was so long. It was like 9 months that we waited for our house, but it's incredible how things happen, and just having that opportunity, it's like one of those things, being in the right place at the right time, and just having the opportunity of, being there and learning the process. And he asked me if I wanted to be part of this team that he was starting. And back in 10, 11, those things just didn't exist. There was only individual agents at that time. So for me, it was this opportunity to start with someone kind of from the ground up and learn what this whole industry was all about. And I was an occupational therapist at the time, as you and I have talked about. So for me, I have all these degrees, these specialties and all this stuff. I never once in my life thought I would end up being a real estate agent. So it's
so much for all that education.
Exactly.
Now you've got real life education.
Very true.
So tell us a little bit about, so you joined a team. So basically you came in with a built-in mentor support system, and you had experience, in a career.
Yes.
But what was that like transitioning from a more structured career that was specialized? Not that we're not specialized in real estate, but it's a little bit different. Tell us what that was like and how it was different.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I went into the clinic at like 7 a.m. and I was leaving, 6, 7 o'clock at night. I would also teach classes on certain like specialties and different things. So I was, part of the staff and everything. So I felt like I was a very driven person. And for me, it was hard to be gone all those hours and not seeing like the fruits of my labor. And I felt like,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I think for me, it was also my husband who saw something in me and said,
Wow.
you would really be good at this. You love people, you love helping people. Instead of, focusing on people's life where they're having issues or problems or dealing with struggles, you would be bringing them into a great new chapter in their life.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, I kind of use that therapy aspect in the day-to-day in real estate, even when you don't realize it, it's a very personal relationship with people,
Yeah.
their lives, their families, their husbands, their wives, and everything that happens in their personal home. So for me, it was, I love the relationship aspect. And to be honest, having a mentor for me was huge. Not knowing, what I was doing, I think it's kind of interesting. I never understood how someone could get into this industry and not just be thrown into the wolves and not know the processes of everything. And, that for me was huge because I think that I was able to learn in an accelerated version of like going to like real estate university with someone that knew exactly what they were doing, where I would call all the time and kind of, be in those positions where maybe I didn't know exactly what I should do, but he had the experience that kind of brought me to help me with those situations.
Yeah. I love that. So you were on a team for how many years?
8 years.
Oh, wow. That had to be a good team.
Yes.
What do you think were the biggest, I know we talked a lot about your former team member and how you really learned a lot from him and grew your business, and really found your place and where you are now. Tell us a little bit about that and what was the big thing you got from being on a team? It sounds like, I think some people would take it back. You are definitely not one of those agents.
No, I would never take it back. For me, I think that it gave me the ability to get the confidence in myself. I think that starting off as a new agent, I think it's hard to have the notches under your belt to be able to prove that you can stand with everybody else that is a top producer. And for me, I think everybody else around me saw my capabilities and what I could do. And I was producing by the time I left over 50 million a year. But for
Wow.
me, I
So everybody 50, was it over 50? That's
yeah,
a big number, not 15, 50, over 50 herself. The
yes.
team was producing over 100. She was producing over 50. I just want everybody to know who we're talking to here. All right, go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you. And even with that, I think there comes a time that you have to realize that you can do this on your own. And I think for me, having that safety blanket, I feel like what it is was great, but I feel like it also maybe stopped me from thinking I could do it on my own and growing that to myself. And I was doing it, but I needed that little push to like kind of say,
Yeah,
you know what? And to be honest, when I met Mai and Daniel, it was incredible, like what they saw in me and the conversations we had and the relationships. And, they had an amazing relationship with my husband already and his architecture firm. And it just kind of felt like it was right. I think
yeah,
sometimes people come into your life and you realize that, there is a time for the next step. You want the growth. And for me, it was always about my growth and about my contribution to the people and my clients around me, and always feeling like I wanted the next step. And I think that's the thing about being a type A personality and a top producer is, you're never satisfied and you always want
yeah.
the next step and the next milestone to be hit.
So I love that. So basically, you just hit three things. It's all about growth, which we had a recent interview with Ty Stockton, and he talks about growth and how important it is to grow and having a good foundation for that. I love that you remember contribution, that you're growing, and in growing, you contribute and being able to contribute. And the third thing is people. And in whatever you're doing, it sounds like you've made incredibly great decisions about good people and always being aligned with the people that are like-minded, that you align with, your values align with, your clients align with, to align your success and your goals the same, and for that growth.
Yeah. I I feel like I have had a major transition in my life when I came into real estate,
Yeah.
and the major transition last year. And listen, it's not easy to make that transition.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that I had to pick up, do. Marketing is one of the huge things that I think that being on a team, you're part of that package, right? And creating that for yourself and your identity and your branding and your marketing. And that's why I aligned with One Sotheby's, because I feel like their marketing, their people, their sense of unity, it's just
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, Maya and Daniel really strive to bring that to the community. And I know you've interviewed her, and she's absolutely incredible. And I think
Yeah.
that as a woman, it's incredible to see another woman become that mentor for people. And that's hard, I think, in this industry too. I think that sometimes, women become catty or that kind of thing. But I really feel like in our industry, it's all about the agents. Sometimes your
Yeah.
clients come and go, and I think people forget about the fact that we all live in the same sandbox. And it's super
Yeah.
important that we align ourselves with people that we admire and respect. And I have amazing relationships throughout Sotheby's, throughout One Sotheby's, throughout like all different companies. Like I've really good friends that I know I can count on in this industry.
Well, you and I have had conversations before about, and this is a quote, it's not mine, as we all know, but show me the 5 people you spend the most of your time with, and I'll show you your future.
Yep.
And you've clearly kind of kept that in your life and in what you do. You talk about transition. So give us, because you've clearly, it's not like it's, and I believe this about any successful person, there's always the perception that it's handed to them. That doesn't mean it was. It definitely wasn't with you. You didn't even know you worked really hard to get an education and start a very specialized career. And you had, well, I'm going to back up to one more question. You had, well, it's still in transition, but you had the, gumption, the grit, the confidence, there's another word for it, everybody, I'm not coming up with, everybody's thinking of it but me. But anyway, you had that belief in yourself to make a crazy shift like that I think a lot of people might want to do, but they're afraid to do it. What was it? And I think you said your husband had a lot to do with it, but it still came down to you.
It did. And it's funny because I won't lie, from the beginning, I actually didn't transition immediately into real estate. I was doing it part-time. And
I love that. Yeah, right.
as we all know, real estate is
That's
not.
how you got sucked in.
That's how I got sucked in. And that's how I started. And I actually was pregnant with my daughter. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, I'd been doing it for probably about a year. And I had gone down, and I was only working in therapy about 20 hours a week. And it was really to keep like my seniority at the University of Miami and things like that. And I realized when I was about to become a mom, I actually went to this women's seminar, which was really funny. And I was with my 3 other women team members at the time. And they were talking about, kind of, and it's a Tony Robbins thing too. He talks about getting on the island and burning the boats. And
I love it.
So I decided that I think it was time that I needed to burn my boat, and I was ready to jump in and do it. And my real thing was, I'm having a daughter, and I realized that my daughter was going to be my priority number 1, and I couldn't have 2 careers anymore.
Yeah.
I needed to be a mom, and I needed to really jump into what I was going to do for my future. And for me, it was real estate, and I knew it, and I'd already in my heart had known it, but I wasn't ready to make that leap. And I think once you decide, like, it's done, I'm that type of person that once I make the decision, there's no going back anymore.
Well, and I love it because you were very committed to occupational therapy, clearly. Yep. And I think you burn those boats, and having your daughter help, having your husband support, and having your daughter, I think it's like, find those people who you're doing it for, your husband's support, your daughter. But at the end of the day, you kind of had this hanging on to something. There's the analogy about the monkey and the holding on to the banana. And if he would just let go, he could get out of the cage. but you're hanging on to something, but you had something bigger to live for. But once you let go of occupational therapy that paid much less and was much longer hours, as long as hours in real estate are, to be able to transition into something, at least your long hours can be at home or you're usually a location of choice, but you were able to transition into something that you loved and something that you're very good at naturally with the right people and the right, and you talk about the right people and the right relationships to grow,
Yeah, I mean, there's also a part of being
and
lucky.
contribute. Yeah.
I think that, like I said, I think I was in the right place at the right time. I look at where we were in that stage of our careers, even in real estate, the fact that teams were just starting, and the fact that I was building something and I felt like I was part of that community. And I think that's the part about real estate that's tough as an individual. And I think that it is a lonely career where you kind of feel like you are alone. But I feel like if you find those families and you create that for yourself, and that's what I'm trying to create with my team. And I told you I'm coaching with Jim Miller.
Yes, shout out to Jim Miller.
Yes,
Jameson Sotheby's in Chicago, one of the best coaches there is, from everything I hear, and he's been on the show.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll have to have him back. But
Yes.
tell us, yeah. So now well, here's the other question. So talking about that transition, what you did, the burning of the boats. The other thing is, in doing that and all you've been through, can you give us, and this may be putting you on the spot, but what is a biggest lesson that you've gotten? And it could be from a mistake, it could be from something that happened, but take us back to that moment of when something happened and you really got a lesson out of all of this and these transitions and perseverance and burning boats and everything else you've gotten out of it to get where you are today.
I think the biggest thing I've learned is, I think, certain people's perception of me as a woman and who I am. I think it's tough to, like you said, I think people think that things were handed to you, and that, I get a lot of people like, oh, I want to be what you do. And they think it came so easy, and that I, hang out with my nails done, whatever. And, and I work 7 days a week. I'm building my brand. I don't say no to things. I work hard. I'm always following up. I make sure that my clients' needs come, sometimes before my own. But I do make time for myself, and I do make time for my family. But I think there's that drive of putting the deal together and making those things happen that for me gives me that drive for success. And I think also being a part of something, I think it's always a wonderful thing to feel part of a community. And I think when you build that for yourself, I think there's a great satisfaction of doing that. And I feel like I've built that through the years with my peers, with the people that I surround myself with. And I think that when you have that satisfaction of knowing that you're contributing to a part of a whole, it gives you a little bit more of that less lonely feeling that the real estate world gives you sometimes on your own.
So tell us, amen to that, by the way. It's so funny. This could be such a lonely business, and having the right people around you, focus on growth and contribution. Those are the three big things you said at the beginning of the interview that I keep going back because they keep coming up in what you say. But in coming into this business, what have you discovered is your kind of secret superpower, magic sauce? It's kind of a competitive industry. In Miami, I can imagine it's incredibly competitive. Big international city.
47,000 realtors in Miami.
Wow. I think we have a little over 20 in Atlanta, 20,000. So what is it that what's your competitive edge?
I think I have a couple things. I think that sometimes when I'm in competition with other agents for listings, I think the therapy aspect of me comes out, the listening. I think a lot of times people will actually tell you what they want, and you can see if they're for real or not for real, and understand. They'll probably even give you the price they want and their timing and everything if you just sit and listen to them. And for me, that is one of the attributes that I love about myself, that yes, I'm a talker, but when it comes to listening to my clients, also buyers and what they really want, sometimes they might not tell you, but you can tell and read them on what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And I think it's all of, I have an instinct about people. And the same thing with the deal with the other agent on the other side. I think that if you're working together to make it happen, you're going to be much more successful than having, I mean, I've been in deals where you have like the other agent has an animosity or it's difficult that makes the deal challenging. And I've had deals where you have an agent on the other side and it just makes it so pleasant to know that you're both on the same page, you're both in it together, and you're both just trying to get it done for your client, for their client, and everybody ends up happy in the end. So I think there's such a different aspect of real estate when it comes to people. It's a people industry. And if you don't like people, it's probably not the best place that you should be in.
You gotta love, like Todd Stockton says on the show, on his recent interview, like, you know, his was, I love people. Like, that's what makes him good at this. I just love people. So your you said one is listening. What's the other one? Competitive edge, secret sauce, superpower.
Matching people with houses. I know that sounds really weird, but so the beauty of what my career has brought me is I started as a buyer's agent. And I've slowly evolved with my clients on the listing side. And I currently am about 50-50 on each. The beauty of being with both is you get to see the inventory with your buyers, and you can talk to a listing presentation and actually really discuss another house when you've personally been inside. So either I've sold them several times or I've been in the property, which gives you that advantage when you're actually doing, you know, visual comparables, but it helps me match people's wants and loves and likes and everything with the house that they're envisioning.
And doing kind of not on matching people with homes, but you talked about when you're doing listings and you've done both. If you've been, a lot of people are just listing agents and just buyer agents, but when you do that, I'm a big believer in master of all trades is a master of none. However, in being a realtor, if you don't know how to represent, I can remember I got in this business and I was like, I'm just doing listings, and somehow I got away with that for a while. And then I thought I couldn't get enough perspective or empathy for the buyer's agent and for their side of the deal, because I can't put myself there. I've not been doing what they do, which means you're not representing your seller as well. And you haven't seen the comps and you don't understand how the buyer's thinking. And there are so many things that are relevant to listing properties that you need to understand from working with buyers.
I think that has been my biggest aha moment recently with COVID, because you're seeing both sides of it, right? You're seeing the seller, that if there's a seller that needs to sell, and you're seeing a buyer that wants to buy, but they're scared right now. And I think a lot of the conversations that I'm having with my sellers and my buyers right now has nothing to do with the real estate market. It just has to do with what's happening in their lives right now. And I think that is really the time that we kind of take our real estate hat off and really focus on the humanitarian portion of it and what people are going through in their lives, and realizing that, you know what, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to be there for you. And I think that is so important right now.
That's huge, because I love what you just said, because I think a lot of people are like, okay, it's COVID-19. We've never experienced this ever. I mean, yes, there was a Spanish flu 100 years ago, but that still was not the same thing. It wasn't worldwide like this is. So what am I supposed to tell people? I don't know. And you just made a great point that when the conversations that you're having with clients isn't about your expertise in COVID-19, since none of us have any and we're not supposed to anyway, but it's about their lives. That is huge. And then going back to your strength, listening, empathizing, and understanding what they're going through. Anything else you wanted to add? I just really wanted to bring that out, what you said before you moved on, because it was so important for everybody to hear, I think.
Yeah, I just think that we all need to I think this has taught us to take a breath, right? I think it's the first time, I'll tell you this, my first quarter was insanity. I almost produced almost 25 million this first quarter. So it was, you know, the balls were rolling, transactions were going, people were moving, and then it went screeching halt. So I think for me, it's been an adjustment. I think we've all gone through our ups and downs. I mean, we're here in Miami on week 5 of quarantine. So we've adjusted to the new normal. But I think that, we have to think of the human side of it. Like I think of my friends that are with, parents and loved ones that, they can't see them, friends that are doctors. I have so many friends and clients that are, in the front lines right now. And, I want to check in on them. It's to really see, are you okay? Because I get worried about my friends that are doctors and everything right now. It's not about, hey, what are you thinking about buying or selling real estate right now? It seems cold and heartless at this point. So you have to be human of what everybody is struggling with. And, it might just be, being a home teacher at home with your kids and struggling with work and life and your business falling apart. It's a lot. So we have to know that everybody's going through it. So maybe that phone call didn't go in the direction you thought it was, but at least you were there for them.
I think that when you've really matured in this business and recognize you become a good agent, and you're a good agent, is when you can have conversations with people not to get the deal, but you're having conversations with people because you truly care. Because at the end of the day, that's how we do deals, out of knowing what we know about this business and our experience, and truly caring about people, so that when the time is right, we're able to deliver and help guide them in the way that they need. And I think, especially in Atlanta, our market hasn't been as negatively impacted, at least right now, as other markets around the country. People are really coming and having questions, just okay, and knowing that they can trust that I'm going to tell them not to do anything if they really need not do anything.
Yeah.
What are you doing so in your daily life? Because I think a lot of us are finding, I know I'm finding myself doing different things, but still very busy working on and actually in my business. How are things looking for you now? What have you learned because of COVID-19 right now? And how are you changing, and what do you see moving forward with COVID-19
I
for you?
think that it's funny because I noticed when we first went into quarantine, a lot of things went off market. You saw the withdrawn or on hold, everything. And I noticed last week things were starting to come back on the market. I will tell you, I've had a few listings. Like last week, my phone actually started ringing again. I didn't know. I was like, wow. But I think that for me, I've been focusing on the back end of my business a lot. I think because I've been so transactional and so busy, we actually brought on a new employee, which is kind of interesting for something like this. But I actually just hired a new marketing director from TTR Sotheby's. So we're
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we wanted to really change the way we're doing. I'm pivoting from, any kind of brochures and, online, everything to online basically. So one of the things, my goal is for more of an online presence, doing more of the social media. I even do a weekly quarantine update. It started on a whim.
You told me about this. I can't believe I haven't asked you about it yet. I love this. We've got to share a link to this on your blog post for this interview. No, but tell us about it. Yeah.
So it kind of came on a whim. I'd finished week one, and most people that know me, Jerry, like I'm not a very open, like I don't share things on social media about like my personal life or my feelings, or, I'm not one of those people that gushes or anything like that. So I'm a pretty, I call myself an M&M. I'm pretty hard on the outside, but soft and gooey on the inside. So I started this. I just one day after my training on Saturday morning, I'd been with my trainer, and I just was thinking about it, and I just did it. I just did a little first week update. And I'll be honest, I never thought we'd be going, maybe this far, but I didn't think,
that we still have weeks to go.
Many weeks
I didn't either.
Exactly. So I started it just kind of saying, this was week one of quarantine, and this is kind of what I had gone through. And it's kind of become a little bit cathartic to kind of be able to just talk about what's really going on.
Yeah.
And I had my moment on week 3 where I kind of hit that wall, that COVID-19, I'm home and I have my kids and I'm a teacher, and, business is crazy. And
you need to do like screenshots as it progresses, like you're like, and then you're like, is it?
Yeah. And I actually, got a little emotional on it. And for me, it was like, I almost wanted to press delete before it went, but I was like, no, you know what? This is where I am. And I'm going to tell you, the outpouring of friends and family and clients and fellow realtors that really reached out and said, you know what, we're going through it too. And you put it into words what people aren't saying. So I think it's, you know, that human element of just knowing that we're all really struggling and we're all going through it. And maybe we're all going through it in different times, you
In
know, like
different
some
ways.
are good in different ways. And it's okay
Yeah.
to be real, you know?
Yeah. I mean, talk about a lesson right there, especially in our industry. I think we all want to just look like everything's perfect and we're together and we have no problems. Um,
Well,
and
isn't it social media in general? I mean,
yeah,
we all want to, you know, your life in social media and, you know, I have a lot of clients that are going through divorces that I've, you know, sold their houses and they both bought two different houses. And
yeah,
if you looked in the social media world, they looked, you know, very happy in life, you know, the real
exactly.
world and what is portrayed are two very different things. And I think right now that's, you know, where people are living on their phones and kind of trying to forget maybe what's going on in their lives right now in the difficult times.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes it's refreshing to remember we're all people and
Yeah,
you know, hashtag in this together, but it's true. Whether it's this or whether it's other things might be a big lesson for all of us out of this.
very true. Very true. And it goes back to the whole, like you said, surrounding yourself with the people that uplift you. It's pretty incredible to see the people that come to you and the families that you can say, I will say, like, one part of being part of Jim's coaching, and I thought it was just Jim, but the reality is it's our group. It's our group. We have, you know, there's about, I think, 18 or 20 of us, and we have become a family through this whole thing. We have been, you know, on Zoom calls, on happy hour, just talking about it, lifting each other up when we're each having our bad days, helping each other pivot and market and do all these different things that we're trying to do for our business, and holding each other accountable week by week,
Yeah.
kind of saying, listen, I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try to do that. And it's been wonderful. It's given me a new sense of family and a new sense of direction that I would have never thought would have happened through COVID-19.
Which goes back to the three things we started with: growth, contribution, and like I'm literally drawing a blank. Growth, contribution, and the right people,
Yeah.
right? Like you're growing, contributing, and with the right people. Whether you've been on a team, on your own, you know, different companies, it's always growth, contribution, and the right people.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do the final three questions for you. And I don't think I never warn anybody what they are. Some people remember, some people don't, but that just makes it that much more fun. Number one, what do you find is your most powerful tool in being a successful real estate agent or person? And that could be listening, that could be a database, that could be a CRM you just really want to share, um,
Um,
anything.
Well, my
Certain way
husband
you
and
network. Yeah.
we created our CRM. So we have a whole back end that's something that we've kind of
Oh,
created.
we haven't even talked about that. Wow.
Yeah, that's what we're in the process of. I think actually the COVID thing will kind of help us with time on be able to, because I think that's the one thing, you know, all of the CRMs show like your people and your database, but we've actually outlined the entire process from beginning to end and even post closing. So it really helps me know what my team is doing without asking all the time, what are you doing? So it's
Exactly.
been pretty incredible. And it's been an evolution over the last 8 years that he just kind of got in my head and said, listen, keep on creating. He's the IT genius and he's very creative
Wow. So he
and
basically has checklists that he turns into a system that feeds to members what to do that they can check off it's done. Is that,
exactly. Exactly.
wow, that's pretty powerful.
And so we have
Um,
our marketing, we have our showings, we have our whole systems of our deals. We have everything on the back end, along with all of our clients and all the data you ever needed to know about your clients as well.
that's incredible in one place.
Yeah.
But you built it, your husband built it,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
he's an architect.
He is an architect. Yeah. And he's also part of my business. So he's my COO of my business.
Multi-talented,
Yes, he is a
good husband.
multi-talented man.
Right. If there's any book that you would recommend to us that's most impacted your business or life, what would that book be?
Oof, that's a tough one. There's so many really good books. One that I've tried to really focus on because I feel like I'm not scattered, but as most agents, I think I'm a little ADD. So I
It's
think
kind of a prerequisite.
it is. It is. So one that I'm rereading right now that I haven't read in a while is The One Thing.
Oh, that's a good one. And that one would I've got a takeaway, but what's your takeaway first? Because that's a good one.
My takeaway from that, I mean, for me right now,
Just
I
from
think
reading it or
for
whatever you want to
me,
share.
so many things, but for me, I think it's the focus on, I think your one thing changes. I mean, I think you evolve
Yeah.
of what your one thing is. And I think that's a rereading it. I read it probably 5 or 6 years ago when I like maybe first started in the industry. And I think that for me, the one thing was, I feel like accomplishing where I'm already accomplished to. I think really believing in myself and
Yeah.
having that one thing a day that I really focus on. For me now, I think it's the next level of the contribution and the growth of my own team and trying to lift them up to
Yeah.
where they need to be now. Because I think that's the hard part now with where we are in the world. I think it's kind of just focusing on what you want to be and who you want to be in this time of change.
Great advice. Well, and the one thing, it's especially like you said, it's, we all kind of are a little ADD in this business,
Mhm.
is that when you hone in on that one thing, there will be other opportunities. And it doesn't mean you say no to them, but you say yes to them by whether or not they're going to feed the one ultimate thing that your focus is. Like you said, right
Yeah.
now it's building your team and growing your team. Um, Last question. If we're going to forget everything else, just remember one thing from this interview, what would that be? What would you want to make? What do we need to be sure that is?
I think that this industry is very difficult, but I think that if you have your core support and you believe in yourself, I think you can do anything. I think everybody just needs to set their mind to what they want to do in life. And I think it's easier said than done. I think, you can say you're going to do things. Um, Somebody said to me recently, if you didn't get what you wanted accomplished during COVID, just throw it away. It's never going to be done. Because if you don't have the time now to get that goal completed,
You
move
never
on.
will.
You never.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. But um, you talked about your core support. I love it. You're just like I asked the question. I was like, what's the one thing? And I guess she gave me 7. I'm like, okay, well, that's good too. Or, your core support system is important. Make sure it's strong. Keep your focus. And remember, it's not easy. Whatever it is, it's not going to be easy. But if you're not getting it done in COVID-19, you're not going to.
It's true. True. I think everybody perceives success as easy. And I think that you kind of look at, someone said, the basketball players, like they practice and practice and practice. What you see on the stage every night at the game is not what they've been doing. And listen, I'm the one, I get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I still, try to meditate, do my workout, and then I become mom at 6 a.m. So, you gotta be there. COVID may come and go, but you got to have your focus and you got to have your goals and you got to have your ability to be able to be all those different facets of who you are in life. Because I think as women, we're a lot of different things. I think
True.
that it's hard to just be one thing. And I think it's when we're strong, it's perceived as different forms, but we're strong to hold everybody together and to help everybody be okay.
I love that you said that. That's a great reminder. And it's, some things I think people go on the woman talk about almost as if it's a weakness. And you just really made the point that it's actually, if I'm sexist, it's that women are better and smarter. The poor men, I don't know what we could do for them, but we try to help. Or as strong women, we do. We bring everybody together. But another thing that you said, I really wanted to end the whole interview halfway through that because it was so good. But I can't not bring this back out because I've wanted to say it a few times from what you've said, is that in every success is not, oh, I was just successful. It was a series of failures and how you responded to them.
Yep.
And having the right people and the mindset of growth and contribution.
You got it.
All right, you've got to add one more thing because we're going to end it with you. And then I'm going to tell you how awesome this interview was because it was. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm thankful. I mean, I think that that's our focus in life right now, is trying to be thankful and day to day, waking up and trying to get it done. I think that I've been lucky in my life and I've struggled with a lot of stuff like everyone else has, but I think it's when you pick up your bootstraps and you get it done. I think life is all about, showing up and playing the game and trying to win. And
Awesome.
I try to win as a mom, I try to win as a realtor, I try to win as a wife, and I do the best that I can. And no, I'm not perfect, no one else is, but for me, that's something that's been an evolution for me to try to learn that I'm just doing the best that I can on a daily basis.
Awesome. And you're rocking it. Well, thank you, Jessica. Thank you for an awesome interview.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Jerry. This has been amazing.
Thanks for being on the show.